Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm JayDreamerZ. That's totally the wrong intro for this particular thing. But the good news is I've got a lot of unique intros that are coming along with some other changes. Let me just turn the volume down on the speakers so I don't have an echo. Hey, today's the day that we talk about Ancient Oblivion. Ancient Oblivion is something I came up with to basically describe an obliterated past, a past that has been forgotten from our collective memories. Sometimes it's been hidden from us, yes, but in general, we just forgot about it. And actually talk about the chainfire spell, which I believe could be related to why we have forgotten about it. And talk about massive amnesia, worldwide amnesia that is experienced after the plasma apocalypse. I'm just getting a couple of things touched up here. A couple of last second things. There we go. Okay, cool. All right. So today we're going to talk about the elves. You'll see on the screen behind me that I've got a couple of letters up there, a couple of glyphs that basically spell out the word L. And I'm actually stalling right now. I just want to pop out the chat. Before I go any further, I need to pop the chat out so I can see it. Pop out chat. There it is. Cool. All right, cool. So I got the chat popped out. Remember, if you want to get my attention, please type in @JayDreamerZ. Hey, what's up, Mother Dragon? She says, you are echoey. Am I still echoey? Oh, you know what? I know why. That's why. That probably sounds a lot better now, doesn't it? I had two audios going at the same time. But yeah, anyway, welcome to my channel. For those of you who are just watching or just tuning in, today we're going to talk about elves. Christmas is coming. The geese are getting fat. And people tend to put elves inside of people's hats. Nah, I just wanted to rhyme. Yeah, Elf on the Shelf and the Santa's elves and the Keebler elves and all of these really lame versions of elves. Like it really started to upset me a while back. Hey, what's up, Stephanie? Dennis, how's it going, man? Evan, good to see you all. But yeah, the more I looked at these concepts of elves, they just looked so lame and so cartoony and, nothing at all like the Lord of the Rings version of elves, right? But even that version of elves seems to me to be a little off, and I wanted to dig deeper into the concept of the reality behind elves, and I couldn't find any information. All the information that I had was solely done by my own research. Every time I tried to type in real elves, it would just show like cosplay or some people that were trying to look like real elves, but they're just regular people, right? So what I found I had to do is I had to reverse engineer our historical record. And by our historic record, I mean our legends, our myths, all of our ancient stories. You know why? Because that's where all of the information about the elven race lies. They used to be talked about all of the time across cultures. They weren't always referred to as elves, which is where we're going to start things off. This is where I always like to start things off so that people can build a bridge to a better understanding. You can't just jump right in and just start talking about how elves are real. And, people with our concept that we have of them today with the Keebler elves and the Elf on the Shelf and all that stuff, it's going to be hard for people to really chew on that. So what I like to do is start fresh right from the beginning. Lord Ravencarver says, JayDreamerZ, what are we going to talk about today? The same thing we talk about every day, Pinky. Every Monday. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about the L, or specifically the elves, right? So let's break down the word L, or elf. Okay, and see where it comes from. That way we can get a better understanding of if it's right to depict the elven race as some weak, chubby, cookie-making, like that, or if they deserve a little more respect and possibly even more, are they more powerful than that? Well, I can tell you right now, the elven race are very powerful. Basically, superhuman. Basically superheroes and supervillains. How do I know that? Well, let's look at this word right over here. This is Paleo Hebrew, or pretty close to Phoenician. So if you read this from right to left, let me take out the pictures here so I can show you the mouse pad. Okay, cool. So you see this one right here? This is the head of an ox, and it implies, this is the first letter, this would be E in elf, okay? It could also be A, it could also be a couple other vowels, because this particular glyph turned into many vowels. But we're going to stick with the E as in elf, okay? And it implies strength. And this is how ancient languages work, okay? You take a picture. This is how they all started, picture form. All ancient language began with images. And when you put one image with another image, you built context for a message, for something that's to be passed along, so that other people could understand what it meant when it was together. And this is where our alphabet comes from, or our alphabet, or our alpha beta, however you want to say it. So this picture on the right over here, this is an ox head. It means strong, or strength, or leader, or mighty, or all of those words that are associated with the ox itself, right? Typically strength. Strong as an ox. We still say that today. Now, this next one, remember we go from right to left, right? And the reason, I have a good theory about this, might as well share it now, but I believe that the reason that we predominantly in the Western world write from left to right is because we became right-handed over time, which means we became left-brained, right? The left, or correct? I hate it when people are doing that when I'm driving. Do I make a left? Right. Right. Wait, right? Left. Left, right? Right. And like, it's like, just say correct. Just say correct. Anyway, we became right-handed, which means that we became left-brained, and the left side of our brain is more in charge of like numbers, and the ends justify the means. It's more of a computer kind of side of the brain. The right side of the brain, however, is in charge of our creative abilities and our artistry and our imagination. That side has been severely blocked off in the modern world today, right? So at one point, they used to write from right to left, right? So it used to go like this. This one, then this one. That's how they wrote, which means they probably wrote predominantly with their left hands, which means they were probably predominantly right-brained, which means we were more creative back then, instead of being so left-brained as we are today. So that's why it's going from right to left. And of course, some cultures write top to bottom too. But anyhow, we've got strength, and then we have this little hook-looking deal, and this is a staff. Okay, it was written and drawn in various ways. The staff is pretty much upside down right now. It needs to be flipped around, but that's what the letters and characters did, is they evolved over time as people started changing hands that they wrote with and changing their writing styles and stuff. Some letters completely were turned upside down. Most of the English alphabet today, I found, are characters that are completely upside down. But anyhow, this is the letter L. It still looks like the letter L today, right? Well, this signifies a staff, and the staff always meant someone of authority, like a shepherd who keeps and watches over the sheep, and they have a staff with them, right? The staff is used to protect and to defend and to lead and to move things out of the way for protection, stuff like that, right? So basically, it means strong leader or mighty leader. Underneath here, it says mighty one. That's not a real literal translation, because the staff does not imply one. It means mighty leader or mighty authority or strong authority, right? Literally somebody who is actually physically strong, okay? After that, it could imply some other things due to their strength that they started off with. So it would be strong leader, right? So if we move this, let's see, let me just see if I can move this here. Yes, I can. All right, so let's look at this side over here where it says L, okay? This is the translation in English, E-L. Aleph Lamed, basically in Hebrew. The root of it is the root of the word Elohim. And right there you can see the modern script, that weird looking letter that looks like the letter N kind of. That's actually an ox head that's just been drawn fancy. This right here is also a staff. Oh, you know what? I'm at the wrong thing. All right, so this right here is the ox head that's been drawn fancy. This right here is a staff. This right here is a window, which implies wind coming through the window, which implies spirit. And these last two right here are basically just making it plural. But it is the root of the word Elohim, which in the Bible is translated as God. Is God an elf? That's the first question on my mind, because let's go on. Let's find out some other stuff here. All right, let's move this over, and it's got the root al. It could be pronounced el. It could be pronounced ale. It could be pronounced al. People just do different pronunciations over time based on dialect and enunciation and accent and things of that nature, right? So this is short for ale, which means buck, chief, oak, and gives some Strong's Concordance stuff there. Here's some references from the Bible where the word El is used. The high El, owner of the sky and the land. Well, that's interesting. Interesting to me because, yes, this word El has been commonly translated as the common word, God, right? However, that's not very accurate, according to my own research, okay? Because the word God literally is G-A-D in ancient Hebrew. And that word more literally translates into, are we good? Let me check the stream. I just want to make sure we're good. Okay, it looks like we're good. Okay, cool. The word God, or Gad, if you want to say it with a cowboy accent, literally translates into fortune or luck. Just like Loki, my luck, Loki, or lucky, right? So this word commonly is translated into the word God. And over here we see the high El, owner of the sky and the land. Okay. I could see how like an omnipotent being would be the owner of everything, including the sky and the land. But is that what it's talking about? Is it talking about the all, the everything, like the one, like that's what people normally think of when they think of the word God, right? That's because we all use a very loose translation of that word in order to avoid bickering and arguments, basically. Because everybody has a different definition of God, I promise you. Even people within their own religions and belief systems. When you start getting specific about, well, what do you mean by God? How do you define God? Then people start going, well, this is how I see it, and this is how I see it, right? So, the high El, owner of the sky and the land, which Anu, the Anunnaki leader, was also said to be the owner of the sky and the land. And he was not an omnipotent being, a very intelligent being because of his lifespan, which we'll find out about the elven race, but not omnipotent. The El, where is it? The El is my strength and my power. Or the mighty leader is my strength and my power. Rescue me, for you are my mighty leader, my strong authority. I am the strong authority of Shaddai. Those are some quotes from the Bible where it uses the word El. Now, let's take this word right here, E-L, basically, and if we wanted to make the word elf, well, you would think that we just put an F at the end, right? However, it's actually not the letter F originally. It's actually the letter U originally, or in Hebrew, the letter Vav, right? Which equates to the number 6 as well. So this technically would be pronounced Elu or Elu, and that would be the word elf. Why is the U pronounced as an F? Because the U turned into a V sound and a double oo sound, and the V sound was said very harshly by some cultures, giving it an F sound. So the letters F and U sometimes got confused with one another, which actually happened throughout the alphabet. many of the letters became confused, just like the whole Tower of Babel story, right? The letters became confused amongst the cultures as you got further and further into different territories and whatnot. So people just went with it and they started spelling things differently, basically. Brit, hey, what's up? Brit's in the chat. Evan Scorpio. Lord Raven says, interesting. So the word for elf or elu or elva, which is why when there's more than one elf, that's why there's a V in there, because that's naturally the normal letter that comes next is the V, aka the U, because the V and the U are the exact same. They have the same origin, which is the Vav. Okay, it's just a different pronunciation of the exact same letter, right? So the Elu or the Elu or the Elva or the Alva. There's all these different ways to say it. The Alf, the Elv, all these different ways to say the same thing. Now the U at the end, basically, I don't have a picture of it right now, but I've shown it many times. It is an ancient picture of a hook. And the hook implies to be attached to or of, right? So if you had Elu, it would mean basically of the mighty leaders or of the El. Who are the El? They are the mighty ones, the mighty leaders. Mighty compared to who? Mighty compared to humanity. Mighty compared to human beings. That's why they stood out. These were the mighty men of old. If you want to look at it biblically, they literally were super strong. I have some theories about that, but I'll save that for the Plasma Apocalypse Thursdays. All right, let's go to get into some different pictures here of the elves. So just keep in mind, when you hear the word elf, it literally means of the mighty leaders, right? What mighty leaders? Basically, we're talking about aliens. We're talking about the Anunnaki. We're talking about the gods, many gods of old, or any of the gods. Choose one if you like one better than the others. We're talking about the angels, right? Or the angel. We're talking about the devils, We're talking about the demons. We're talking about all these beings that descended and came down from above, whether or not they were kicked out and fell down here, or tripped and fell down here, or should have took a left turn at Albuquerque and ended up here. Regardless, they don't belong here. They're alien, okay? They're literally alien to this world. All right, so let's check out some stuff. Basically, every single superhero, for the most part, there are a couple of exceptions, these all represent the El. These would be called Elohim, or the gods of old. We call them today superheroes, right? Because it's way easier to accept the term superhero than it is the word God. Because that implies way too much, and religion has had such a stronghold on everybody. So these would be the El. This guy right here, Superman, the Superman, which is, by the way, Hitler wanted to go into like various places. Okay, you know how like Indiana Jones was looking for like these sacred artifacts in all his movies? That was basically Hitler's hobby, okay? That's why Indiana Jones hates the Nazis so much, okay? Because Hitler was trying to find these ancient artifacts. Why? Because they were artifacts of power. Now, was he just a religious nut that just, believed that, they were like lucky items? No, not just lucky, powerful items of technology that comes from other places, that comes from beings who are not native to this world, who introduced us to technology, who introduced us and boosted our level of, agriculture and our level of thinking in general, basically. But these are the gods. This guy right here, Superman, his name is Kal-El. That's basically means, I don't know what Kal means, but his name is El. He's got the word God. I'm pretty sure everyone from Krypton has the name El in their name. If not everyone, at least his immediate family does. And there's a reason for that. It's purposefully done. There's a purpose behind him dressed in all blue. because he represents the blue-skinned El race, the blue gods of old, just like how I did in my Smurfs video. Like, that represents reality. The tiny blue gods and the big Gargam El Titan, and that was a whole true story. This is probably more. These stories right here, these comic books, are more of a true story, or at the very least the exact same as the Smurfs, because they're both based on reality, based on esoteric history and hidden history. And that's why we love it so much. We love this stuff and we eat it up, man. Why? Oh, just because I like to escape reality. No, it's because you love reality so much that your subconscious mind screams out, I need more of this. This is true, not this fakery around me, right? That's why we run to the movies and we flock there and we watch and we give them our money. We want some truth, man. That's really the reality behind it. All right, so let's check out some other stuff. So of course you've got Batman here. You know, he kind of represents, well, he probably represents a few things, but he doesn't have any superpowers. I think he's the only one up there that doesn't actually have superpowers, but he has technology. He's technologically advanced, so it looks like he has superpowers. And if you look at those images of the Anunnaki from a while back, it looks like they're wearing some sort of advanced technology as well. Aquaman, one of my favorite ones here. He literally has scales all over his suit. Why? Because he's a fish? No, he's a human. Why would he have scales everywhere? Because everything in the ocean has scales? Nope. Sorry, try again. The ancient gods were known as the scaled ones, or the shining ones, or the shimmering ones. Oftentimes they were confused with and compared to lizards or fish. They literally called them the fish gods. Dogon was the fish god himself. And then, of course, we have the Amazonians, represented by Wonder Woman. I don't think I want to break all these down. Oh, yeah, Batman's rich. Samyaza. That does help. Being rich is a superpower. That's my superpower, he says. Oh, here's Legolas, okay? Now, this is where elves get a little bit more towards the badass side, and there's some things that I really like about this, okay? We can reverse engineer our myths, our legends, in order to get... We take all... It's called comparative mythology, okay? So you compare all of the myths, you put them all together, and then you see what's similar in all of them and how many of them are more similar and have more similarities. And you look at all of those similarities and you say, hey, there's something to that. Like, for example, we all know that the elven race has pointy ears. The question would be, or we accept that. We would have to accept that, right? That's sort of a staple of being an elf, is you have to have bigger ears, basically. Why would they have to have bigger ears? Maybe it has to do with where they're from, because they're not from Earth. They're not from here. We're from here, and look at our ears. That's what our ears are like, right? So maybe wherever they're from, they needed better hearing, or they evolved so that their ears got bigger in order to get better hearing for some reason, right? Which might tie into my Fantazoid theory, because I don't think a lot of the Fantazoids can actually see. Or if they can see, I don't know how great their eyesight is. But it seems to me every time that they're represented in the movies, and if you don't know what Fantazoids are, just go check it out. It's on my Plasma Apocalypse playlist. Start with the Great Beasts of Old. Start with that one. It's got the space whales. It's a good introduction to Fantazoids. But yeah, often in the movies, the Fantazoids are portrayed as either being blind or having poor eyesight, but they have excellent hearing, like super, super hearing, which is really interesting to me too. All right, there's Legolas again. The bow and the arrow. Kind of interesting. It sort of harkens to the Mahabharata when they had Arjuna. Arjuna was one of the heroes of the Mahabharata, and he used the bow and the arrow as well. Pixies. Okay, pixies are two different things, okay? One, they're also elves, okay? This is one of the ways that elves sort of got caricaturized and turned into cartoons and stuff like that. But there are some things that we can tell that they are of the elven race. Okay, now keep in mind, in the elven race or the El race, oh, hey, somebody just donated. Vegan Demon donated $1.99 and said, did you say masonry is related to the elves? Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Let me go ahead and just pause and address that real quick, okay? Here's where masonry comes from. The mighty ones came down super strong, super lazy after a while, didn't want to do all this work, and basically enslaved humans to build their houses for them. Their houses were real big. Why? Because they were real big. Because they came down from the macrocosm of the fractal verse into our microcosm, and they were gigantic, right? So we built their houses, which turned into the word temple, which is where people went in order to worship or pay homage to their local mighty one, or giants, basically. Hope that helps you out, Vegan Demon. I like your name. It's pretty cool. So yeah, pixies, pretty much another way that they were drawn. They've got the pointed ears and everything, usually Caucasian looking. But another thing pixies are, I do want to throw this out there, is have you guys seen like the movie Brave? You know how like they had the will of the wisps? Remember that? Well, that's basically plasma. And in the future, when our world is inundated with plasma and it has an influx of all this electromagnetic charge in the air everywhere, you're going to see pixies all over the place. It'll be like little tiny St. Elmo's fires just floating around in different places. Some might be small, some might be larger, which is, I believe the larger ones are represented by the movie Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, this guy, yes, from Prometheus. This is one of the best movie examples of how I believe the elves should be portrayed. Strong, like determined, intelligent. I mean, I'm not kissing their butts or anything, but I am absolutely paying the respect where respect is due, right? Doesn't mean I have to like them. Doesn't mean I have to agree with whatever principles they have. And also, see how they got him in this sort of Jedi robe? These beings were known for dressing like this from time to time. They had different styles of dress based on what they were doing. Typically, if they're traveling or something, they were wearing these huge hooded robes, just like the Jedi do. The Jedi are elves. That's what they are. Like, so are the Sith. They're just two sides of the same exact coin. They are the elven race. And what do I mean by elven? Basically, I mean they are the bipedal fractal verse travelers, aka commonly called aliens, okay? But I don't know, like the word alien is almost like the word God to me. Like everybody has a different opinion of what an alien is and what an alien looks like. And, you know, it's almost left to your imagination. Like you just make up anything and it's accepted like, oh yeah, that could be an alien. Okay, possibly. But for me, I have more of a definite description of the fractal verse travelers. These are the bipeds, the bipedals, just like us. So whenever the plasma apocalypse comes and NASA and the other space agencies blast off and leave this world through the hole in the sky, they're going to become bipedal fractal verse travelers. Okay? AKA, yes, aliens, basically. All right? Okay, but yeah, as you can see, these guys right here. Oh, shoot, I don't have my, hold on one second. I got to move some stuff around so I can see the chat. Because I don't want to miss a thing. Sorry. I'll try not to sing. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Lord Raven Carter says, JayDreamerZ, he became the unnamed this one. So is that what it means that's what it means to use the Lord's name in vain? Whoa. Let me read that again. He became the unnamed this one. So is that what it means that's what it means to use the Lord's name in vain? Okay. I think I know what you're asking. Let me just talk about using the Lord's name in vain real quick. By the way, I did a huge breakdown of the 10 Commandments in the original Phoenician or Paleo-Hebrew. It's called Enki and the 10 Commandments or something like that, right? And I break down the original meaning of the Ten Commandments because it reads totally different when you read it in picture form than it does when you read the translations. Excuse me. Okay, so to take the Lord's name in vain, I'm just going to give you the short version of that. Basically, what that boils down to is do not make the name of that Lord come to nothing, which translates into don't forget his name, or don't stop using his name, or don't equate his name with something that is useless, basically. But the Jews ended up doing that anyway because they were so paranoid about using the name of their God in Babylon, right? And other places that they went into captivity, that they made it a rule. No one's allowed to say this name anymore. And guess what they forgot? They forgot how to say that name, which is the name of their very own God. So they ended up calling him by the name, which is Hashem. Pretty interesting. Anyhow, look at this guy's skin, okay? This is Phantazoid skin. Phantazoids, the creatures that fall from the macrocosm into our microcosm. Basically. That's a short version of it. But yeah, this is what skin looks like from those creatures who come to Earth from quote unquote space or beyond the dome. Vegan Demon just joined the Good Vibe tribe. I gotta give him some good vibe emojis. Hold on, real quick. Let's do the woke emoji. Boom! Welcome Vegan Demon to the Good Vibe tribe. And you get the fire too. Hey, I don't know if you guys know this, but technically if you tune in during your 6-month anniversary, your 1-year anniversary, and your 2-year anniversary, that flame up there will actually turn into different things. It's pretty cool. I've not seen it happen yet, but I think you have to like catch it on a live stream on that day. Anyway, look at this skin. Does that look like Caucasian skin? No, I'm Caucasian. Look at my skin. Okay, yeah, I did mess with the camera a little bit to make it have more of a filter effect because I think it's cool. But regardless, okay, I don't look anything like this guy. Okay, he's white. That's white. That is that pearlescent, ivory-skinned, opalescent, white color that I believe many of the Phantazoids, at least those who have spent some time out there in the beyond, because space is white, which I have mentioned and referred to many times. And I did leave that particular video open for the public, even whenever all the videos were for members only. I definitely left that one up there because I believe that is a mind-blowing, like it blows my own mind, and I'm the one that thought of it. Like, I love the concept. I go outside all the time on the back porch. I look up at the sky. I see a white moon, which I know is just a reflection coming from out there in space. It's not actually physical, but it is an image of the dome of the other world out there, which is white. And all of the little stars, in essence, are white. Like, everything out there looks white against the black ceiling of our world. So it stands to reason that the beings from out there would also follow suit and have white skin, opalescent skin. Actually, somebody told me, one of the viewers told me in German that the word for white, what was it? The word for ivory is, I want to say it's Elfbein. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it means elf legs. Like the word for like a tusk of ivory or something from an elephant literally means leg of an elf. Well, that means that elves' legs, or elves period, are this color right here. Like, that's what they call that in German, which is really interesting to me. So yeah, he's got the Jedi thing going. He's got the ivory Phantazoid skin going. Technically, he should probably have a little bit more of a shine to him because they were known as the Shining Ones, or the Christs, believe it or not. That's what that means. Christ literally means anointed, technically, but it means specifically anointed with oil in order to make your skin shiny and glittery and glimmering. That's what that was, and they were all Shining Ones. Demon, see this guy right here? He's an elf. You see that? Colin Freestone just donated $2 and says, I love your sharing, brother. Hey, man, thanks. I appreciate that. That's awesome, man. you guys always touch me with the donations. It really helps me out. But look at this guy. He's a demon, right? Angels and demons are the exact same thing. They're just two sides of a different coin. Now, I'm not going to dismiss that there may be various like races or classes or evolutions of these beings, these bipedal phantazoids out there called the El. And I actually did a huge video about it called Who the Hell Are the El? But I think the best video I have done so far was there was no flashy stuff on the screen. It was just me and a whiteboard, and I was breaking down the word El, and it was called The Secret of the Elves. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're interested in this subject and you haven't seen it yet. Thor is one of the Azir, aka the mighty ones, or those strong with life. That's what Az translates into, strong with life, right? Strong life, or basically by extension, long life, and by extension again, immortals, basically. In comparison to us here within the death house, okay, we don't live very long. That's because we're getting crushed by pressure, and there's all these poisons in the air, and we're running out of oxygen. Like, there's a lot of bad stuff contributing to us shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and our lifespan's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, this guy, Thor, he's not from here. He's from heaven, aka space, aka the place where you get your immortality and you stop aging and time slows down, basically. But let's look at Thor's arm. Remember Aquaman? Remember how they put the scales? Why does he even need to have this, right? Like, he's Thor. If I understand correctly, he's kind of like Superman in that his skin is nearly impenetrable, right? Why do they have to have this sort of chainmail looking stuff on him, right? He doesn't have it on his pretty face, which is weird because I think he's an Azir and not a Vanir. The Vanir were the pretty ones. That's literally what it means. There was the good-looking ones and the not-so-good-looking ones, apparently. But anyway, he also has this cape. Why does Thor have a cape? Don't you think, and I believe they actually brought this up on The Incredibles, and made a really good point about it, why do superheroes need capes? It's not practical. There's no good reason for a superhero to just strut a cape. Don't get me wrong, I want a cape. I would love to have some capes. Like, I'm going to get some capes. But anyway, I want to bring capes back. That's my thing, though. Why does he have a cape? Because the elven race had a particular style of dress, just like we saw with this guy, right? This huge hood he's wearing over his head, when he takes it off, flips halfway down his back, typically, the older ones. But the elven race wore capes. They also wore capes that had huge hoods on them. Why in the world would they do that? Well, my theory is that they were photophobic, which means basically allergic to the sun. Like, the sunlight hurt them. And some of you are photophobic too, so you understand what I'm saying. Vulcans, Lord Raven Carver, you hit it right on the head. That's right. Oh, hey, check it out. Private American National said ivory is elfin bynum. Bynum? Well, elfbine, basically. So, legs of elves, yeah. Yeah, similar to the druids. Am1 just said similar to the druids. The druids were the wise ones. Why were they wise? Because they had way more knowledge than we do. Because, like, by default, okay? I'm not saying, like, they invested their whole lives studying or anything. No. But if you live to be 1,000+ years old, you're gonna learn stuff just by default, just by experience, just by trial and error, right? You're gonna learn all kinds of interesting stuff, and you're gonna develop certain areas where you become an expert on certain things simply by default, just by living. But yeah, they were the wise ones, the druids or the Derweeds. But yeah, he's got this cape on. Why? Because that was the style that they wore. Why was it a style? Are they stylish type beings? Probably not. They're probably practical. How is it of practical use? Because it keeps the sun off their skin. Like I said, they're photophobic. Now, this guy right here is the Lord of Thunder, and it's always associated with lightning. I mean, I don't know why they don't just call him the Lord of Lightning, but that's fine. Anyway, because he comes in to this world during a storm. during the plasma apocalypse, which is when they all come in, and that's when ours leave. Ours are the ones who are getting ready to try to go to other worlds and be cool and be the gods and be the angels and be the demons. Like, they're getting ready for that right now. I don't know how advanced they are. I don't even know if they're going to make it, but we'll find out. Let's see here. Let's check this girl out. She's basically an elf. She's got the pale skin. The eyes are interesting. You see how her eye lights up right there? There are stories about these beings of light and their eyes literally light up. Why would that be? Because the eyes are the window to the soul. And if the soul, let's just say that the soul was plasma or electromagnetic or some form of electricity, right? Let's say that the soul was plasma. If you were inundated with plasma and you had just been out there around the plasma sphere of our world, or even deeper out there where there's just plasma everywhere and it strengthens your very being, and you come down here, that makes sense to me that you would have eyes, windows to your soul that reflect that show the plasma that is literally pouring out of you, which probably gives a lot of these people superpowers as well. Not just having super strength, but super electromagnetic powers, basically. Mother Dragon, the cartoon gargoyles. Oh, that's a good one too. You know what? I haven't seen that in a long time. But I do have my theories about the gargoyles as well. Basically, in short, the gargoyle theory that I have is that it represents gargoyles. Okay, I'm talking about real gargoyles. I mean, not real ones, statues, okay? The statue gargoyles are basically warnings to everybody who would be an enemy to those who live inside that house or in that building or that skyscraper or whatever it is, that those ancient monsters or those ancient beings became petrified and lost in the ancient war between the Titans and the gods, or some ancient war. They became petrified and subsequently drowned in the mud in great floods, because it goes back and forth between flooding the world and fire burning the world. Fire's next, for those of you who wanted to know. Vampires. Vampires are also photophobic. And a while back, almost all the vampires were pretty much, like when I was growing up, they were all played by like Caucasian people, because everybody knew vampires had to be as white as possible, right? And, I mean, who better would you get than white people, right? They're not really white, though, right? There's definitely melatonin. I mean, not melatonin, melanin. I take melatonin. I love melatonin. But there's melanin even in Caucasian people's skin. But look at this. This guy has none. He's basically albino looking, right? And he's got the pointy ears. Vampires typically are portrayed, or used to be, as having pointy ears. They're photophobic. They are night crawlers. Like, they sleep at night. By the way, now that I said Nightcrawler from the X-Men is also probably an elf or an ancient elven being of some sort. They just cartoonify these things a lot. But yeah, these guys, they sleep at night. I mean, they sleep during the daytime. They come out at night. Like, they're photophobic. They're not used to this world. They're not used to having to live under this giant spotlight that's just constantly just giving us a barrage of radiation and like all this other stuff that we have grown used to. Some of us, like myself, are not big fans of it and look forward to what it's going to be like when the sun disappears. And also, by the way, vampires are said to have psychic abilities as well, that they can hypnotize their prey and whatnot, right? And they're shapeshifters on top of that. But let's focus on the psychic abilities. Like I said, these beings typically have eyes that glow. Typically, the eyes glow red. That's because of the plasma, the influx of plasma. These beings came from a place where there is an overwhelming amount of plasma. Is my mic too loud? No, I'm good, right? Okay, good. And so their eyes glowed, right? Well, if you have an overwhelming amount of plasma or electromagnetic power surging throughout you, right, then it becomes a little easier to just manipulate that, use your electromagnetic power, aka plasma, to reach outside of your body and to connect with the plasma that exists in other people's bodies, especially if they don't even know they have plasma or an electromagnetic being. If they don't know they're an electromagnetic being, then they're probably not going to be taught how to use their electromagnetics for like ESP or anything that starts with psych. Anywhere that starts with psych. Mother Dragon says, I'm binge watching it right now on Disney Plus. If you want to watch it over. So much esoteric things that I remembered in it. I'm going to be honest, I didn't watch it a lot because my little brother liked to watch it and I was not the best big brother. So I didn't watch what he watched basically because I was too cool for that. But yeah, I might go back and check it out because I guess we have that channel now. At least like a free trial of it. All right, so these are vampires. Vampires are basically elves as well. This guy right here, I believe, is a Vulcan. Kind of has a Romulan look to him. But anyway, same thing. Romulans and Vulcans are the exact same thing if you ask me. Romulans are just Mexican Vulcans, basically. Like, that's just putting it in a nutshell, okay? They're just brown Vulcans. That's all that is. But yeah, this guy right here is a Vulcan of some sort. Now, not only does he have the pointed ears, but we also see, and a really bad haircut, like Dumb and Dumber haircut, right? I'm not sure about the haircut because typically when we use comparative mythology, we see that the ancient gods in the elven race had typically very long hair and they took pride in having long hair and they did not, like, to get your hair cut was a shameful thing for this culture. So it could be, especially because he's got no facial hair whatsoever, that this is just a kid. Because remember, they're immortal. They live for very, very long time. Can you imagine how long they have lived before they actually get to go through puberty? Not 12 years, I promise you that. Like, this guy right here is probably just a kid elf. And that's why, and that's where we get our elven standard of beauty. Our elven standard of beauty comes from the fact that the ancient El, or the mighty leaders, the elves, basically, they had like a class system, right? The older ones who did have long beards and long hair and whatnot, more chiseled features and stuff, they were not in the public eye. They were too wise for that. They said, no, I'm not dealing with the humans. I'm sorry. Let the kids go deal with the humans, okay? And they got some experience under their belt, being the younger gods, and those were the ones in the public eye. Those were the elven race that we looked at and we said, oh, that's what they look like, because we didn't see the other ones. Like the older ones rarely made appearances. But the younger ones at first were in the public eye all of the time. And we thought they were very beautiful, at least some of them. Okay. So we tried to emulate that beauty. They actually taught us how to beautify our face to look more like them, giving us bigger exaggerated features, bigger eyes, and, smaller, whatever. I don't know a lot about makeup and stuff, but that's where that comes from, which is really interesting because I absolutely and firmly believe that the El who had these white faces, where's this dude? Okay. This guy right here, he's going to stand out if he comes down here, right? Or, it could be a female or a male. It doesn't matter. So let's say that they use in their wisdom the ability to sort of camouflage, to look more human so that they're more accepted. Well, now you have a beautiful looking creature that's trying to look like more human. And then you have the humans who the El saw is beautiful, not thinking that they're very beautiful, wanting to look more like the El. Isn't that interesting? And this guy just has a grip of makeup. Like he went crazy with his makeup. By the way, these eyebrows are also something that I have picked up on and noticed that they may have if they had eyebrows, like the Prometheus dude doesn't have eyebrows, but a lot of times the elven race is portrayed with eyebrows that kind of come up. See how mine kind of goes like down like that? Theirs, like, look at Bill Nye. Like, he's a perfect example. Like, their eyebrows went like that. It's just a genetic marker, and it's really interesting. And I wonder if there was a class of the L that actually had large eyes, but had like a sort of lip around the edges of their eyes, like I think Down syndrome, like people with Down syndrome, they develop the similar eyes. Asian people from various places, they have that sort of, and I'm not using that, as an insult or anything. That's just the shape of people's eyes. But that's the sort of slanted eye look. And that, according to Asian tradition in various countries, was passed, a genetic marker that was passed down from the dragon lords. Well, dragon is just a fancy, awesome name instead of saying reptilian, basically. They're the dragon lords. Vegan Demon is in the chat and says the dark elves in Thor all had white hair and white skin. That's right. They did. Which I believe many of them had white. I think a lot of them, they started off very purely white. Okay. Like Gandalf the White or something. I don't know. Just think of somebody that's like an albino, basically. And that's what they looked like when they first arrived on the scene, which is probably why they put on some makeup and shape-shifted in order to look more human and stuff. And ended up finding wives amongst the race of humanity and stuff. But over time, I'll bet you they started to adapt to this world. And their lifespans got shorter and shorter and shorter, at least their progeny's lifespans. Mother Dragon says, definitely a Romulan. Romulans and Vulcans are distant cousins. The Romulans descended from Vulcans who dismissed logic and... the Romulans dismissed logic and controlling of emotions over keeping them and separated from the others. And that's a classic story too, right? That's the left brain versus the right brain that I was just talking about at the beginning of this show. All right, let's move on from the Romulan dude. So this guy's definitely a Vulcan. Now, if you know who he is, calm down. Just calm down, okay? People get so excited over Spock's dad. All right, so check this out. Look at the way he's dressed right now. This is an elven style of dress. This is also a very Dracula vampiric style of dress with the very long popped collars. We have an elven standard of beauty. Why do you think we pop our collars and that's supposed to look good? Pfft, you got me. Unless we're trying to emulate the strong, mighty ones, those heroes of old. Like, we want to look like them. We want to remind other people of them in us. And so we pop our collars. We have huge popped collars, just like they did, just like the vampires do, to keep the sun off of your skin, essentially, because they're photophobic. He also has the eyebrows that go up. He's got the large ears. In this one, he's portrayed, he's probably a younger immortal because of the short hair, all that type of thing, right? That's pretty much the same thing. I just wanted to show you guys the collar, basically. You see how like that collar keeps the sun off of you? That's why they did that. And they also had this, the elven race had like, when they weren't out traveling, when they went places, like they were emissaries, man. They were representing all the beings outside of the roof of our world. So they were very, very diplomatic. Some could say political. And so, as such, when they went out, they dressed a sort of Gothic style of dress. The word Gothic, goth, is the same word as God, okay? It just was the word God that got retranslated and resaid, and it ended up goth, okay? Goth. Goth means God. Gothic means godlike. That's why the elves, that's why the vampires, that's why, I mean, why do you think vampires are always dressing all gothic looking in the movies, right? Just because they have an eccentric style, or maybe they were they were bit back in the Renaissance, and so they just never lost that style of dress. Get out of here. Sorry. No, I don't think so. Oh, yes. This is one of my favorite vampires ever. This is the Grandpa Munster. Now, pay attention to how they made him look. They put all this extra makeup on him to make him very white. A lot of people think that vampires look white because they're dead. Okay, they're not dead. They have blood running through their body. Like, dude, they're alive, okay? Like, they're not corpses. They're not zombies or anything. They're just vampires. They're white. That's why, I mean, they're white because they're white. They're not white because they're dead. But anyhow, this guy right here actually has the big nose. That can also be a feature. Look at the eyebrows, how they made them sort of go up. They sort of combed this guy's eyebrows up, and he's got the huge collar. Oh, I thought you guys could see my mouse. Sorry about that. Raven Carver says, I donated plasma. Hey, bro, don't feel bad. I've done that many, many times. I used to have scars on my elbows from having to go to the plasma center and watch some lame movie while not moving. Ugh, I feel your pain. Never doing that again. Here's another vampire. This guy right here is one of the vampires that's exercising his psychic abilities. And he also has that sort of gothic style of dress, the popped collar. A lot of times they're portrayed with like slicked back hair. The vampires are, at least. That's because they had really long hair. Like, see, look at my hair right now. See, it's all back here in the back. I don't like it all in my face. It tickles and stuff, you know. So I just put it back, and so it looks like my hair is just short and slicked back until you actually can see the bun that's getting bigger and bigger in the back of my head, which I think is pretty awesome. Vegan Demon says, JayDreamerZ, did the elves create the dome? No, I do not believe that the elves created the dome. The elves understand the dome. Actually, I can't say they all do, right? But in general, I believe that there are elves that do understand the workings of the dome, how many domes there are, what they look like, where the weaknesses are, where the strengths are, how the dome was actually made. But no, the dome was not made by the elves. It was made by something even bigger in the macrocosm. Okay? I'll leave that up to you to try to guess. Oh, here we go. Here's the Count from Sesame Street. Remember this guy? Pointy ears, popped collar, pointy eyebrows. Boom, confirmed. Bipedal Phantazoid. Very left brain. Left brain is associated with numbers, right? Right brain is associated with like colors and emotions and smells and stuff. Here's another vampire. These are all pretty much the same, so I'm going to kind of go through these a little faster. But he's got the popped collar, pointy eyebrows, and there's not a lot of like nowadays. You know, they've been more politically correct, and they've had like more black people or more Asian people like playing the role of a vampire, but that's not how it started. Not saying they can't be vampires either. There's Sarek again. See, she is not a Vulcan, and she's dark-skinned. I believe they did that purposefully. Not that black people can't be bipedal phantazoids if they want to. They can. I'm sure that's going to happen, and I'm sure that that's where their ancestors came from. Sarek again. Oh, this is so funny. This is actually a clip I found from Star Trek Discovery where she's on Vulcan right now, and you can see these Vulcans walking around. They all look like vampires, especially this guy right here, dude. Let me pull this over a little bit. Like, I had to point this guy out. Like, he looks like he should be on a cereal box. You know what I mean? Definitely a vampire right there. They're all pretty much vampires, though. That's why she doesn't belong. Like, she's clearly a human. She's not a vampire. She is a native of this world, which the darker the skin, the more native you probably are. Stands to reason. These are the elves on the Lord of the Ring. They're kind of douchey, not very nice, very like left-brained, the ends justify the means kind of people. And it takes a lot of like convincing to try to appeal to like their sense of emotions or morals and things like that. And he's wearing this sort of crown of horns or thorns. Also relates to the elven race. or AKA the Draconians, aka the Reptilians, whatever. People have very colorful names for them. I have my own colorful names for them as well. But they are said to have horns, basically. Like in their skull, like they have grown like little horns or whatever. And so that's where we get our crown. So our leaders wear horns, literally, which is a crown, which is just another word for saying, it's another way of saying corn, which is another way of saying horn, right? Like cornucopia is a horn of plenty, because the word corn literally means horn, right? Like Kronos or Kornos, basically. But Kronos is the horned one. Corn. It's all the same word, basically, just different pronunciations. But that's why we wear our crown. The crown is horns that's being put on top of the leader, because the leaders have to have horns. That's how the Anunnaki knew who was in charge. Whoever had the most horns was the leader, basically. Semyaza says they got stuck inside the dome. He put doom, but I'm pretty sure he meant dome. Some would like to leave this realm. Yeah, I totally agree with you too. All right, let me jump back into these pictures here. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about the Elven race, the Elves, okay? And how they're directly related and are the ancient gods of old, the ancient Azir, the Vanir. They are the demons. They are the angels. They are all of these things. The Vulcans, the vampires. That's what they all are. They are bipedal, fractalverse travelers who have left the macrocosm where they once were and descended into our microcosm. Let's see here. This guy's wearing his little crown deal. Now, in this one, see, this is why I like the Lord of the Rings elves, because they actually show them growing their hair out, right? This guy's hair really isn't that long, okay? As an elf, that's not really that long. So he could probably be like, he could easily be like 40 years old, still have that, and be a kid. See how he has a shaved face? Shaved face. Look at pictures of like Odin and like, what's his name? Zeus, right? Like the old leader gods, they've got the beards going on and they're very proud of them. They're not just going to shave to look like a kid again. They were very proud once they went through puberty and they actually started to grow out their hair. And long hair was a sign, it was a status symbol that basically told people like what your rank in society was. If you had long hair, that meant that you had a higher rank because you've been around longer and most likely you're going to be in charge of something. This is another one. I forgot what movie this is from. It could be Hellboy. But see how they have him with like pure white hair, pointy ears, sort of translucent eyes. He kind of has some point to his eyebrows a little, we could say. But he's got that albino colored skin as well. He's an elf. This guy's definitely an elf. He's one of the lamest elves I've ever seen. But he's definitely an elf. This is from the Shannara Chronicles. Now check him out. They did not have to have him pop his collar. That's just a regular t-shirt or a shirt. But they purposefully popped his collar. Why? Because we all know that the elf, the Elu, it's another way of saying elves, the Elu, right? Oh, which is also related to masonry. I don't know if I answered that question correctly earlier. By the way, so we built their temples. That made us masons. It made us house builders, basically. That's where that comes from. So you had the people who served the gods in their houses, around their houses, making their houses, their temples. Those were the masons. They were the ones who had the divine blessing of the gods were free. They weren't slaves. So they were known as the Freemasons, okay? And then you had the workers, okay, who literally just got super strong, did all the work, did all the mining and digging and stuff, and they became something else, not Freemasons, slave class. So yeah, this guy right here, he's got his collar popped. He's a kid, clearly. That's why he's got a shaved face. Same dude, trying to look cool. Bro, you're not cool. I'm sorry. You are an elf. Okay, you're kind of cool. Okay, so here's Spock. These are known affectionately in the Star Trek community as space elves. They say that as like a joke. Well, I don't know who says that, but I've heard it. But they say that affectionately like a joke, like, oh yeah, Vulcans are space elves. Ha 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 ha. No, not ha 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 ha. They literally are space elves, okay? Literally, that's where elves come from, is space, okay? And that's why they have pointy ears, and that's why they know how to do magic, and that's why he's about to do the mind meld, basically, which is just another way of saying, like, telepathy. But he has to, like, touch her. This guy's doing the same thing. He's doing the Vulcan mind meld, and he's a vampire. Boom. Mind meld. Boom. Mind meld. Mind meld. One more time. Boom, mind meld. I just wanted to do that real quick. It's the same exact thing. That's why, like, they have these powers to be able to, like, manipulate people's thoughts, influence other people, read their minds. Semyaza is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, can you imagine living as long as you chose, then willing yourself to leave the mortal realm after 1,000 years? They chose to die. Well, yes. That is the story of the elves, that they could will themselves to death. Like, if they just wanted to leave this body, they just decided they would go into a deep meditative state and die. That's how they died. Otherwise, they were basically immortal, right? But the other thing is, the elves that were born here, not the ones that directly came down from outer space, but the elves that were born here, they were born into the closed system. And once that system closed off and our roof sealed up over our world, giving us a dark sky, or a dark city, if you will, their lifespans began to shrink and shrink and shrink, as did the humans of the time as well. But yeah, I could totally imagine that, though, which I think is the way it should be. I mean, like, to me, that sounds natural. It sounds like the natural way. Now, look at their style of dress. These are still Vulcans. Look how they're dressing. You see how they have, like, the very baggy, long robes and the huge hoods that go all the way down, like halfway down their back and stuff? This is elven dress. They dressed like elves because that's what they are. Now, does it look anything? Hold on. Let's take a quick time out. Wait a minute. Let's get rid of this. Okay, we're going to get rid of that, and I need to show you guys some stuff up here. I'm doing some screen sharing real quick. And let's see, where am I? Boom. All right, hold on. Give me a quick second. I got to make this bigger. Okay, can you guys see that? Let me see. That's not too bad. Okay, so let's type in elf. All right, I was doing some research earlier. That's why that's there. It's weird when I'm screen sharing because I can't tell which one is which. All right, let's just type in elf. Boom. Let's click on images. Pow. Let's see what comes up. Does it look anything at all like any of the images I have just shared with you? Wow. This is what we have turned the honorable, respectable, I don't know about honorable, but you know what I mean? Like, this is what we have turned bipedal, fractalverse travelers, the strong and mighty ones, into these days. Why would we do that, do you think? Do you think that it turned into this maybe purposefully? Because one thing I do know about the L is they did not like people drawing their picture. They did not like that. They did not want likenesses of them at all. It's actually a commandment in the Bible, right? Thou shalt not make any graven images of us, of me. Do not draw us. So instead of drawing what they actually look like, another thing is we didn't see them a lot either. Oh, check this out. This is the little elf beauty line. That's because we have an elven standard of beauty. That's why it's called elf. They'll say, oh, no, it stands for eyes, lips, and face. Yeah, well, coincidentally, no, I'm sorry, but I like this chick's little look. That's a cool looking costume. I like that one. But yeah, it's called elf because they're trying to look more like the gods, basically. They're trying to look more like... Actually, you know what? It's actually very popular. I'm trying to think of where. I put this on my Instagram. Somebody was sending me some pictures of ear jewelry. Let's just type that in. There it is. Like in Thailand and those types of places, like they have... Oh, that's kind of cool. No. That's not what I'm looking for. Maybe I have to type in Thailand. Let's type in Thailand. Yeah, it's like the same thing. Oh, here we go. Okay, so stuff like kind of like this one over here. These little earpieces that they have that come to these points, sort of giving the illusion of pointy ears, just like this over here. This is starting to become very popular these days, and it harkens back subconsciously to wanting to look like the gods, wanting to look like the elves, the elven race, the Elohim, etc., right? I just thought that was pretty cool. Vegan Demon says, JayDreamerZ, to be fair, they still look creepy. They do. You're right. Oh, he also says, what are my thoughts on elven blood type? Any relation to vampires? I don't know a lot about like the elven blood type, but I do know that those humans who were the product of the elves mating with the humans, or the natives, I should say. The elves mated with the natives of this world. And those demigods, because those beings were part god or part elven and part human at the same time, they were very proud to carry that particular gene in their bloods. And they wanted to keep their blood as pure as possible in order to have that connection to heaven or to space or whatever it may be, right? And so I do know that to them, their blood is very important. And it might have something to do with the, what's that one people always ask me about? R negative or something? I forgot what it's called. I got too much stuff in my brain right now. But yeah, anyway, look at these pictures, okay? Will Ferrell is the terrible elf. Terrible. He's funny, okay? I kind of like the movie, even though it's irritating at the same time. But yeah, this is a terrible representation, okay? Not terrible in an awe-inspiring way either. The elf in the shelf, little striped legs, all skinny and just, this is not what the elven race should be represented as. But hey, you know what? Like I said, maybe they had their hand in that. Maybe they wanted people to think of the elves as weak and pathetic and funny and jokers and, you know what I mean? Instead of like the pictures I've been sharing with you guys. What is that? Oh my God. Okay. All right, let me stop screen sharing this stuff real quick and let's go back to what I was screen sharing. All right, cool. Now we're going to go back and finish up these pictures, checking out the rest of these Vulcans, which I like their style. I really do. Oh, RH negative. Thank you. Loon through the ether. Hey, welcome. I totally saw that you just became a member right before I started doing my live stream. I was actually doing some last minute touches and it like pops up on my screen when I'm working on stuff. Like it gives me the alert even though it's not live or anything. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I welcomed you privately. Vanessa V says, hi, JayDreamerZ. Wow, that connection with the Bible was mind-blowing because I really connected. Thank you. You're very welcome. So they've got a pretty cool sense of style. I like it. They wear the huge robes and baggy clothing in order to avoid the sunlight because they're photophobic. The older generation, the ones who actually have more power, will have much longer hair and facial hair as well because it takes them a long time to go through puberty. Like this guy right here. Oh, you can't see him. Agent Smith, he probably hasn't gone through puberty and like, he's probably close. You know, he's got longer hair and stuff, so he's probably getting close. I would assume. I don't know. And they also wear these long capes and stuff. That was their style. They wore stuff just like this. I actually found this on a website, which I thought was kind of cool. That's right. Let's talk about this sign real quick, okay? This is actually just a still from Star Trek Discovery, but this is the live long and prosper, right? That the Vulcans use. Vulcan. Okay, let me break down the word Vulcan for you real quick, okay? Though, remember how I said some letters got confused with other letters? Well, the same thing happened between the V, right, which we talked about earlier, and the B, which we can still see that in like Transylvania, Romania, those types of places where they tend to exchange those particular letters around when they talk, right, because of their accent. So the Vulcan is actually the Baal or Bahal Khans. Khan means priest, like I've talked about already, right? Joseph, what's up, man? So the Baal, or Baal is just another word for Lord, basically. And Khan means priest. So they were the Lord priests, or the high priests, if you will, right? And anyway, let's go back to this thing right here, right? This is what the Vulcans do. They say, live long and prosper, and they make a big V. Vanessa V says, keep it up. We just happen to be doing V stuff right now. It's all V stuff. All right, so the reason they make a V is because that is the Vav. That is also a symbol. And thank you for your donation, by the way. $5 definitely buys me lunch, and I appreciate it. Tubal and Cain. Yes, Tubal and Khan, or Kahan, or Cain. All right, so the V. They make the sign of the V. Actually, there's two V's there. There's another V here. And technically, where that comes from is the Jewish blessing, right? They would put their hands together like this and make like a giant W, basically, or put the two V's together, which is actually a triple V because there's an upside down V right here in the middle where my two fingers meet. You see that? So it's just like the Volkswagen stuff too. They use the same play on symbolism as well. So this is the blessing. They would say they would put their hands out like this, and this was like the Jewish high priest or Hebrew high priest, I guess. I'm not sure, but it's mostly popular within Judaism, or like real strong Judaism these days. They would put their hands together like this, put it upon your head if you were receiving the Aaronic blessing. And I believe it went like, Yavarukaka Yahweh Vayisamerka Yair Yahuwah Panavaleka Vayichuneka Isa Yahweh Panavaleka Uyasamlaka Shalom. And that's basically translates into like, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you. Just like in, what was that? Braveheart, right? Whenever the kid's dad dies, like the uncle Argyle comes and he's like, was it a beautiful prayer? And he's like, I don't know, it was in Latin. And he's like, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord, like, that's what that is, basically. And then they just put their hands upon you like that. And they do the triple Vav. Basically, Vav equates to the number 6. So when they do this, they've got 3 6s, placing it right upon your head. Now, I'm not trying to get too spooky about it because I understand what the 666 is in reference to. It's in reference to the plasma apocalypse, which literally means it's in reference to the opening in the sky. The opening in the sky, which is where they get to go home. That's Nibiru. That's their place of the crossing. That's where they get to go. And it's not 3 6s. It's just spirals is all it is. The 3 in a row implies an infinite number. It just keeps on going. You're not going to keep making 6s forever. So they just drew 3 of them, which implies perfection or continuation. Hey, thanks, Britt. I like your Mandelbrot set too, by the way. I think that's pretty sweet. So yeah, there's Spock doing his little dealio, right? He's just got the 1 V there. And the V is the hook. That's the sign. Like, that is the thing that the gods use to represent themselves. That's why the Nike, the god of victory, uses the swoosh, which is not a swoosh, it's a hook. That's why the Grim Reaper carries around the hook. Oh, there it is right there. I totally forgot I had that picture. And then there's some Hebrew up here. It looks like B'Shema La. Vashama la Asher Vakabud. I don't know. I'll have to take some time on that one another time. But it looks like it has something to do with the Shema, which was another prayer that they recited. I believe Shema means to listen or to hearken, technically. Oh, here's old Spock. Dang, Spock, you've been living on Earth too long, man. See, this is what happens whenever the Elven race comes down here and gets stuck in this prison world of an enclosed system where they start aging quickly, right? Yeah, now they don't get to live so long, do they? Well, that's whenever they start looking into how to preserve life real quick. Hey, here it is, Kohen. Check that out. Remember I said Khan means priest. Kohen is just another way of saying Khan. Kahan, right? Like vowels don't really count in the ancient languages. You can pretty much cross out vowels anytime you see them. Cross out that O, cross out that E. Khan. That's what that word is right there. And that's why they're showing this particular image. This is the priest. And I'm not sure what these letters are for. That's like a P or like a PH, like an F sound. I don't know. We'll just skip that one. Okay, so let's check out these elves, man. Now, this guy right here, first thing you can see is his eyes light up. You can see it in hers, too, if I just blow that up a little bit. See that? See the light up eyes? That's because the Elven race had an influx of plasma. At least the ones that just got here. The ones that just came from space, okay? Or from space. I'm going to come up with a better word than space because I don't like that word. I don't think there's hardly any space in space. All right? There's probably more space in here than there is in space. Do I study gematria? I've dabbled in it. Not too seriously. Like right now, my favorite thing is astrology. I'm very into like it's actually helping me with my relationship with Jenny. Like we're getting to know each other on a profound level, and I'm really interested in astrology right now. But yeah, I've dabbled in gematria a little bit. Blickaroni says, JayDreamerZ, could the quick aging effect explain why angels devolved into gray aliens? Possibly. That was the jump. I didn't say that they did, so that's your theory, which I think is an awesome theory, but I'd like to hear more about it before I start agreeing. Angels devolved into gray aliens. I don't know. I'd like to hear more about that. All right, so these guys all have white hair, right? Even the Asian dude. Clearly like a plastic ear right there. It's so funny. And you also have the pointy eyebrows, right? I don't know. I think if you live to be 1,000 years old, you might get some pointy eyebrows too, right? And it's not like the eyebrow hair just stops growing. Like it will keep growing and growing and growing. So yeah, I could actually see why they would have pointy eyebrows. All right, so yeah, they're wearing like, very gothic kind of interesting. Oh, that guy's got a green gem on his chest. That's pretty cool. He's lost one eye, or he's got a scar over one eye. That's one eye symbolism. The one eye symbolism is the same thing as 666. It's just the hole in the sky. The wheel in the sky that keeps on turning. Ah, the Goblin Prince, who also has a V necklace medallion, just like Aquaman. Aquaman's got the exact same one. And that's all that is. That's just a fancy V upside down, I think. I'm not too sure. I could be wrong on that. But what I do know is the Goblin Prince is a damn vampire, okay? He is a fractal-verse traveler. He's a biped fractal-verse traveler. Look at his eyebrows. Whoosh. Hold on. Let's zoom into David Bowie's face. Pow, 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 pow. Now, we all know David Bowie was into the esoteric and knew some stuff, right? It was no accident that he was chosen to be the king of the goblins, right? The goblins, just like, okay, basically the word goblin is related. Well, I don't know. I can't think it through right now. There's too much pressure. But let's go back to David Bowie. Eyebrows, boom, pointed, check. Long, crazy 80s rocker hair, check. Popped collar, check. Gothic dress style / pirate style, check. Okay? Weird esoteric symbol that Aquaman also has. Check. All right, so basically he's representing the leader of the goblins. Well, what are the goblins? The goblins are basically vampires. They're basically elves and everything, but he's the leader of them, right? And they picked this white dude to be him. Clean shaven. He has to be clean shaven because the leaders were usually the younger class, like I said, right? The older ones were in charge of the others of their kind, not in charge of humans. They didn't want to mess around with humans. Like, are you serious? If you lived to be a few thousand years old, would you constantly want these beings that die after 50 years to just come with you with same problem decade after decade? Like, oh man, that would get old so fast. I can actually relate to that one. This is pretty much just a David Bowie, but somebody did like a painting, which is kind of a cool painting. But he's got the popped collar. He's got the pointed eyebrows. They even did makeup on his eyebrows to make them look more pointy. Oh, I was missing the chat. Let's see. Hopi. Hey, what's up, Hopi? JayDreamerZ, I've begun calling space the heavens. Do you think the Nephilim are elves? The heavens. Okay, I like that. Do I think that the Nephilim are elves? Absolutely. Hell yeah, they are. Like, they're the ones that fell down from space, which is where the space elves live, right? I mean, it's not a good idea to get hooked and wrapped up in certain words. All of these words are interchangeable. They're all interchangeable. That's why I like to technically use the word bipedal fractalverse travelers, right? Unlike the hexapod monsters that fall down from the macrocosm, okay, way different, right? Because they just look different, right? They're basically more like, we would consider them to be more animal class, but I call those just straight up phantazoids. Let's see. AM1 says, JayDreamerZ, kind of off topic, but how does death play into the fractalverse concept? Do you think discarnate beings are subject to this realm? Let's see. Do I think discarnate, so basically spirits, are subject to this realm? Spirits are subject to whatever they live in, basically. That's the rule of thumb, okay? So if they live in a body, they have to obey the rules of the body itself because they're stuck in the body until they leave it. If they're stuck in this world, in a closed system in this world, even though it's much bigger than them as a point of focus or whatnot, yeah, they are subject to this world. They have to obey the rules of this world. And that's sort of just a universal law. Like, spirit and energy has to obey the rules or the laws of the thing that it abides within, typically. Death. So death is just a transition of energy. That's all it is. It's just energy transferring from one thing to another. Energy moving about from one vessel to another vessel. That's all. Loon Through the Ether says, JayDreamerZ, I want to say thank you for opening back up your videos. I think it will definitely bring more people to your channel. I also had the same idea because all of my subscribers pretty much stopped when I went members only. It was cool because I love members only, but like my subscriber count was like, people were like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's members only. Okay, whatever. And then like went on to something else. So I've done a lot of things to try to fix all of that. There are still members only videos, but a lot of those, I just did a video about it, but a lot of those are more like behind the scenes, bloopers, on location videos, pretty much all my flat earth videos, like certain special videos. Like if I do a Christmas special coming up, which I plan on doing, that's probably going to be a members only video. But all my regular videos, those are all available to the public. So I apologize. Thank you guys so much, and enjoy and share them. That's the first time I think I've ever said that. But you know what? Darn it. I'm proud of what I do, and I would appreciate it if it was shared because that's why I'm sharing it with you. I share this stuff with you guys because I care. This is my way of changing the world, one little piece at a time. And the more you guys share, the faster I get to help to change the world. Blickeroni is in the chat and says, another thing is that elves were often depicted with spiky hair. Could it be a result of the plasma influx, like when you touch a highly static object and your hair raises up? I like the way that you are thinking. I don't know if that's right or not, but that definitely sounds feasible, and I really like that. Great thinking outside the box. I like that. AM1 says, JayDreamerZ, I know that sounds like an odd question, hard to frame right. That's okay. Vegan Demon says, JayDreamerZ, hey, thanks, partner. Keep doing you. I will. Hopi says, JayDreamerZ, you should be proud. I am proud of you. Hey, thanks, man. It was a hard thing for me because pride was something I was always told. I feel like it's Sylvan Lining Tuesday now, but pride is something I was always told like I should be ashamed of. Like, oh, you're so proud. Like, oh, you're so into yourself, and so like, yeah, of course, like, I'm the center of my world. I should be into myself. I should be proud of my accomplishments and the things that I do, especially when I'm growing and I'm adding to the world, right? Maria, hey, what's up, Maria? You didn't miss it, Maria. We're still talking. We're good. All right, let's move on. What time is it? Oh, it's only 9 o'clock here. Oh, there's Spock. He's a space elf. Same thing. We've talked about him. Oh, what is her name? I forgot her name. Something Munster. She's Herman Munster's wife. But yeah, she's an elf, basically. Vampire, elf. All right, these are kind of getting redundant. Oh, that was the end of them. Let me see if I have any other pictures of the elven race real quick to see. Well, I've got an albino gods folder. This is akin to the same thing. Let's check this out. This is pretty good stuff. Look at this guy. Dude, Uncle Fester, right? Remember, like, I think a lot of those beings, when they're up there, they probably look a lot like Uncle Fester. I don't know. Excuse me. The reason they wear black represents this world, the world of death. So basically, it represents them being in charge of this world. Okay, that's why the ancient priests or the priests of Baal, or the Khan of Baal, or the cannibals, right? They wore black. They were the priests of this world. They were also 8 people. Yeah, so this guy reminds me of Uncle Fester. That's why I'm kind of staring at it right now. All right, let's move on. Smurfs, same thing. We talked about that already. The blue gods, right? The blue gods who wear white, which tells us they are from where? Space, right? Because space is white. Another blue god, he's actually a frost giant, same type of deal. This is like a greenish blue. I believe that's Osiris. Oftentimes they're actually painted blue and then it just turned green, I believe. I could be wrong. But either way, I think I'm wrong. I take that back. Because this dude right here is clearly green. I can't get past it. Oh, that's Aryun. I think that's him. He's got the bow and arrow right there. Could be off on that one too. This is Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, right? This is not an ox. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? This is a Phantazoid. This is a Titan class kaiju, not Titan, but this is a kaiju type Phantazoid, okay? We just relate it to the animals we already have. Just like we compared the gods that came down into this world, or the elven race that descended. Remember the shining ones, the shimmering ones, etc.? Well, the only thing we knew that looked like that was a fish, so we called them the fish gods, or a reptile, so we called them the reptilians, right? So some of these Phantazoids that come down very much look like some of our animals that we already have existing. Could possibly be the origins of the animals that we have today. Could be their ancient ancestors. Oops. As you can see, there's little tiny people down here pointing way up. So these are Titan classes. This guy right here, Paul Bunyan, is a Titan. This thing over here is a kaiju type Phantazoid, basically a Titan Phantazoid, okay? Animal type, because there's different types. And why is he blue? Because he's from space. I'm not sure exactly why they're blue. I'm not sure if it's the tint, because they were actually really white. And so it's possible that when they lived under like the more of like a sort of purple glow in the purple dawn, that their skin had a bluish color to it. That's my theory so far. And here's another one. Here's a Viking god. That's why they wear horns too, right? Well, one reason they wore horns is because the gods wore horns. But another reason, I don't know if the gods had horns or if they simply just wore horns. If they wore them, if they just decorated themselves with horns, could it possibly be that it's because it was sort of like a trophy of the phantazoids that they had killed in battle? Because that's exactly what I believe the samurai did. Vegan Demon says, JayDreamerZ, can you go over the vampire, umpire, empire thing? I can. I wasn't actually prepared for that one. Okay. But they're all the same word, basically. You know what? I'm gonna break those down when I'm like I'm a little tired because I worked out super hard earlier. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm sorry if you can. But and then I also took like this protein drink that has melatonin in it, so it super calms me down. But anyway, I'm gonna go over that another time whenever I have like a better presentation planned. Basically, they're all the exact same word. Umpire. I could probably figure it out real quick in my mind. Well, pyre means light or fire, right? Typically light though, and fire is light. And then vam, om. Well, the V and the U means of or attached to, and then the am or the um or the em. I'll tell you what. I would like for you, if you're willing, to go figure out what am would translate into. Not in English, right? You have to break it down in picture form. A is an ox, M is water, basically. Totally gave you some strong hints right there. The Magician's fantasy gets real. Yeah, no kidding, because fantasy is real. Always has been, always will be. This world is fake. This world is the world that doesn't have any magic and it's all depleted. I mean, there's still magic left in our world. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to skim through a lot of these real quick. Westworld. Well, that's the whole reason that they're milky white in Westworld. They're depicting space beings, which turn into AKA robots, which is just like they basically just electrically charge these things. Here's my theory. Okay. If you guys like Westworld, here's my theory. There is this milky white substance out there, okay? Ambrosia, whatever you want to call it, milky white substance out there in space or the heavens. And it is possible that this milky liquid substance could be programmed, right? Just like they do in Westworld, and just like they did in Doctor Who, and just like they did in all these other shows, right? What if they ran an electric current and somebody just introduces some DNA into this milky white substance, and then instantly the electric current starts to take the shape of the DNA and starts to build it out like a super advanced 3D printing machine, basically, right? All it would need is the DNA, which is why, for example, there's this Doctor Who episode where there was like this milky white substance and it like moved and stuff, but once somebody touched it, then it took on human form, right? It's my theory. I believe that because we are electromagnetic beings, that we could transfer that, basically our aura, and share a piece of ourselves with them just by shocking that milky white substance, and then all of a sudden little copies come out. I don't know. It's a theory I'm still working on. The ancient gods across the world were pretty much depicted as these albino-looking, super white-looking kind of gods, right? Not Caucasian, but like ivory skinned, basically. And that's why they always painted their faces white. From the geishas to the kabuki or kabukai, however you pronounce that stuff, to the aborigines, right? They're always painting their face white in homage and respect for the ancient gods who came down here and taught them how to live or seeded their race or whatever it may be, right? They're always drawn white. Typically, right? And whenever these tribal people across the world in different regions do their dances and stuff, even the Native Americans, like, they will have pure white paint and paint their faces white. Cave paintings show these phantazoids as being white in color, right? I mean, there's just different examples of it, right? That's why they paint themselves so pasty white. This is the white boa. This is, I don't know. It could be a phantazoid as well, because I believe that most of these phantazoids are a very, very shiny, shimmery, rainbow kind of white color. And these are just various cave paintings that I've come across. I actually saw some really cool petroglyphs whenever I went on my Arizona trip. I did keep that video members only because I was very proud of that one. I put a lot into that video. Didn't get very many views either, so I saved that one for my members. But yeah, when I went down there, like, there was all these petroglyphs all over the rocks in Arizona, and one of them was straight up like an alien head, just like how you see here. And I'm like, wow, this should be on the news, man. All right, we already saw that guy. This is where is this? I don't know where that is actually, but basically these are all representing the same thing. And they would paint themselves like this when they did rain dances, when there was weddings, like any kind of celebration, like they were paying homage to the gods first. And then, of course, you have the killer clowns from outer space, right? Like I said, they were very white, and then they tried using makeup to blend in with our society. Now you have super white beings with like blush on their cheeks and on their lips and wherever, and now they're basically clowns, which I affectionately dub the killer clowns from outer space. And that's exactly why Pennywise is a killer clown from outer space. He serves it, and it lives in space, if you have done that research. Vanessa V says, JayDreamerZ, thank you for my daily day of great info of this world. Always food for thought. Again, thank you and have a great night. Hey, you too, Vanessa. You'll all float down here. Yeah, exactly. When the electromagnetics of our world hits neutral, you'll float too. I promise. All right. Let's see. I'm just going to keep going through here. As you can see, the little devil hand sign right there. Right? Both sides. Blue God, same thing. Same thing with the star right there too, 6-pointed star. And their hats, see, they probably had elongated heads and larger heads and probably bigger brains, who knows. But that's why they always wear cone-shaped conical hats. That's why wizards wear their long hats, etc. This guy's got the trident and snakes going around him and the moon as well. Oh, okay, so let me explain this real quick, okay? Well, first of all, you've got the third eye symbolism right there, right? But the reason they stick their tongue out and the reason that that's even something that people do, right, is because that's what it looks like when the hole in the sky opens up and the pink plasma comes out of that hole in the sky. That's the ancient goddess of death going, aha, you're going to die. Like, that's why they do that. That's what it is. Like, that's where it comes from. That's why that's even a thing that people do. That's why this guy does it. And he also paints his, not only does he paint his face white, but they chose the black and white color scheme because black and white together also symbolizes space. Like, just white symbolizes like purity of space, like being from space. But black and white symbolizes space as a whole, because you've got the white, which is the heavens part of space, and you've got the black, which are the worlds within space, right? The enclosed structures, etc. He also has the horns growing off of him, etc. The blue gods, the pointed ears, the long hair, the Navi, which means, I believe it means priests. The Blue Man Group. I actually saw these dudes. Great show. Really good show. Their show is super esoteric. Like, it's nothing I could even really repeat. Okay? Because it was an experience. Like, it was an emotional experience. I highly recommend checking out their show. Smurfs, we talked about them. All right, I think we're kind of getting redundant here. Oh, Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, he's got the little sun symbol on his head. Well, that's not the symbol for the sun. Dracula. Hotel Transylvania. Okay, I think we're... Oh, this is from Dark City. These are all the aliens in Dark City. All the Uncle Festers, right? Little Uncle Fester replicas. Are the elves underground? Asks Vegan Demon. Yes, I'm sure there are many elves underground. There's Phanazoids underground too. There's lots of stuff underground because underground the conditions are different and it's not a world of death under there. It's probably more death than in space, right? But I believe that in the inner Earth, conditions exist to allow us to live much longer. So yeah, you're going to see all kinds of ancient animals that we don't have up here any longer. You're going to have other beings down there. Yes, definitely. Raven Carver says, Mountain Dew, is it in you? McDonald's just loving it. What are you talking about? Blickaroni says, the cone hats were also designed to help direct energy. Hey, I could see that. Definitely could see that. All right, let's get out of here from all the cone heads. Oh, the Grim Reaper is a classic example. Like, that's why he looks like this, okay? That's why he's got his hook, all right? The number 6, the Vav there. That's why he's wearing black, because this is a world of death, right? I mean, it's affectionately a world of death, right? I mean, I don't believe in death. It's just a world of very quick transition as opposed to very long transition. Dr. Manhattan again. This guy is a great elf in the movie Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And he actually does live underground. So I hope that helps to answer that question. This dude is definitely from Hellboy, pretty sure. He's an elf. Different variations of the elves as they took on different shapes. Actually, there's a little Dr. Seuss looking elf over here. Look at that. Check him out. Which is appropriate because of the Horton Hears a Who and the Fractalverse thing. Oh, that's right. Holy water. So they don't like holy water, okay? And I have a theory that holy water is not water that's been blessed whatsoever, but it's acid. And that there are pools of acid up there at the top of our world that is a byproduct of all the chemical reactions that happen during the plasma apocalypse. And it very well could be that there are like lakes of acid way up there where gravity is reversed and pulling up towards the top of the dome. And that's why they're deathly afraid of it. And they don't want to go anywhere near stuff that looks like that because I also think that it's possible to live on the underneath part of the top of the dome up there. And that there probably are beings up there and that they could live up there. And easily just look down and be watchers and just watch us because our whole world is lit up in comparison. I don't remember why I put this one, but it's from Supernatural. It's pretty funny. Don't remember why I put that. Pennywise. Pretty much enough said, right? Oh, that's the reason he has the red balloon is because of the plasma apocalypse is represented by the floating, the red in the sky, the red sky. He's got red hair, which is what I believe the hair sort of went through an evolution whenever the gods mated with the natives, right? When the elven race mated with the natives, like their hair went from pure white to their offspring's hair becoming like shades and, just mixing colors basically. Oh, and he also dresses like this. This is why these types of clowns dress like this too. They're killer clowns from outer space. And they have this sort of Renaissance style, weird, feathery kind of look to them. This dude is also an elf, basically. Oh, man, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm going to have to wrap this up. I'm super sorry. I don't have time to go through all these. But I don't want to make this a really crappy live stream. So I'm going to wrap things up. Are there any other questions in here? Vegan Demon says, JayDreamerZ, they must be inside the Earth at the North and South Poles. Very possibly. Okay, cool. Hey, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining me today. I am still doing a little work on my channel. I'm changing a few things here and there. But in essence, we're going to keep going Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, which means tomorrow will be the Sylvan Lining if you're watching this live. If not, I just want to say, hey, thanks a lot to all my members. And By the way, all the videos are available to the public. Well, not all of them, most of them. Okay, there's a whole bunch of special videos that I kept for my members and that I will continue to do for my members as well. Anyway, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye. We'll see you next time.